I was standing on a snowy train platform when my phone buzzed a message from my daughter. "Christmas would be better without you, Dad." I froze, watching the snowflakes melt on the screen, not sure what felt colder, the weather or my heart. I texted back just one word. Got it. But maybe, from that very moment, I started to understand a lot more than I ever had before. If you're watching this video, hit subscribe and tell me where you're listening from in the comments below. My name is Ethan Cole. I'm 52. Used to be an aerospace engineer. My whole life revolved around numbers, blueprints, and flight paths measured down to the millimeter. I could calculate wind angles, velocity drag on any propeller, except one thing: human emotions. I spent nearly 30 years building a house, raising a daughter, believing that hard work alone would keep everything together. But when my daughter Mia texted me saying Christmas would be better without me, everything I believed in fell apart like a plane losing its wing midair. I remember that Friday clearly, the end of my shift at the private aircraft maintenance hangar in Portland. Everyone was laughing, talking about their holiday plans. I just smiled quietly, thinking about my flight to New York to see Mia. I'd already bought the ticket, booked a small hotel near her apartment. I even got a gift, a silver bracelet engraved with Mia's flight, a reminder of the first time I took her flying when she was 8. She held my hand so tight I thought she might break it. She was terrified of heights, but her smile lit up the whole cockpit when the plane lifted off. And now, she's the one who's pushed me out of the sky we once shared. I left the station and drove back to my small house on the edge of town. The snow kept falling thick and heavy, a thin layer of ice creeping across the windshield. In the rearview mirror, I saw a man with gray hair and hollow eyes worn down by years of work. I didn't recognize him anymore. A father who once flew across continents just to see his daughter for 10 minutes at her graduation, now standing outside her life completely. When I got home, I turned on the fireplace, took off my coat, and sat in the old armchair by the window. The firelight flickered against the photos on the wall, Clara, my ex-wife, and little Mia smiling beside the Christmas tree. I reached out, brushed the dust off the frame. They still looked happy, just without me. After Clara and I divorced, I didn't blame her. I understood she needed freedom, control over her own life. I kept sending money not out of obligation, but because I wanted Mia to have a better one. 7 years ago, after that accident in the workshop, I received a big insurance settlement, $450,000. I used nearly all of it to help Clara and Mia open a small coffee shop in New York. I thought, at least that would make things easier for them. But after that, every phone call ended with, "Sorry, we're busy. Got a meeting. Customers waiting." I didn't realize that each transfer, each deposit was slowly turning into invisible chains, keeping me locked in the role of the outsider. Later that night, I opened my laptop and logged into the investment account I used for their support. The ownership column now read only one name, Clara Bennett. I checked the change history. Tiny letters appeared, updated by authorized manager October 2nd. The authorized manager was her. I leaned back, let out a quiet laugh. Not a sound, just air leaving my chest in an empty room. When night settled in, I looked at the unwrapped Christmas gifts, a few cookies, a half-written card. The last line stopped mid-sentence, "Mia, wherever you are this Christmas, I just hope..." I couldn't finish it. Hope she's happy. She already is. Hope she understands me, too late for that. I crumpled the paper and tossed it into the fire. The crackling wood reminded me of fireworks, the ones I promised we'd light together every year. And I did. For her first 10 Christmases. Until Clara told me don't bother her anymore. She needs to focus on school. I thought I was doing the right thing. I stepped back, gave them space. But the more I stepped back, the more I lost. When the clock struck midnight, I stood, opened the door, and stepped out onto the porch. The cold wind hit my face, carrying the smell of pine and smoke. I looked up at the gray sky, and for the first time in years, I didn't pray for forgiveness. I just wanted to understand why. Why can a father be erased from his daughter's life so easily? And right then, I made a decision. I wouldn't fly to New York, but I wouldn't sit still through another winter either. I don't know what's waiting ahead, But it's time to find out the truth behind that message, even if it freezes my heart all over again. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, her words came back grinding in my head like metal on metal. Christmas would be better without you, Dad. I kept asking myself, what had I done so wrong to deserve being erased from my own daughter's life? Outside, the snow kept falling. The streetlights spilled through the window, painting faint, trembling shapes on the wall. I sat in front of my computer and opened my financial records, not to control anything, but to find an answer. When the screen lit up, numbers started dancing in front of me. I scrolled through the history, every transfer, every fund sent to Clara & Co., the name I once thought symbolized our family. But then I saw something strange. For almost a year now, all the revenue had been rerouted to a new account under the name Nathan Miles. I stopped. I knew that name. He used to be Clara's brand consultant, the man who helped her develop the business. I leaned back in my chair. The cold from the seat crept slowly up my shoulders. No one had to tell me what was happening. I already knew. It wasn't just me being cut out of my daughter's life. Everything I built, every dollar, every ounce of trust, quietly erased. It hurt. But strangely, I didn't feel angry. Just awake in the most painful way. So I didn't shout, didn't curse. I just opened another file, the authorization account I'd created 4 years ago, the one giving Clara full access to sign on my behalf. I clicked Revoke Access, took one slow breath, and pressed Confirm. A small ding echoed in the room, sharp, cold, final, the same kind of sound that came with my daughter's message. By morning, Portland was buried in white fog. I made coffee, sat by the window, and watched the snow melt on the glass. My phone started buzzing unknown numbers again and again. I knew who it was. I didn't answer. When Clara Bennett flashed across the screen, I let it ring until it died out. 3 hours later, my voicemail was full. I opened one. Her voice came through familiar yet trembling with panic. "Ethan, what did you do with the account? Everything's frozen. The bank won't let us withdraw. You can't do this. It's our daughter's business." I gave a faint smile. Our daughter. So now I mattered only when the money stopped flowing. That afternoon, an email arrived from an unknown sender. "If you want to know why your daughter really hates you, come to New York. Don't tell anyone. No name, no address. Just one attachment, a photo." I opened it. In the picture, Mia stood in front of the cafe, her arm around a man I'd never seen. Behind them, the old sign, Clara & Co., was gone. In its place, Milestone Cafe. I zoomed in, and my heart clenched. At the bottom corner of the sign were the words, "Established by Nathan Miles and family." I turned off the screen and stood up. The room felt unbearably quiet. Stepping onto the porch, the wind hit my face hard, scattering the last ashes from the night before. Inside me, the cold bit deeper than anything outside. I didn't know who sent that photo, but I knew I had to go, not to reclaim money, to reclaim the truth. I booked a red-eye flight, packed a small suitcase, a few clothes, financial records, and the unopened gift for my daughter. At the counter, the clerk asked, "Traveling alone?" "Mr. Cole," I nodded, "same as every year." On the plane, soft cabin light fell over the empty seat beside me. I stared out the window. The clouds looked like dust from old memories, hiding everything I wasn't ready to face. I wondered, if she knew I'd still been sending money all these years, would she still have sent that message? Or had all of this been part of someone else's plan all along? When the plane landed in New York, it was still dark. The wind off the Hudson cut through my coat, damp, sharp, like an invisible hand whispering, "Don't trust anyone anymore." I took a cab to Brooklyn, rented a small room near the cafe. The landlord, an older man with an Asian accent, asked if I was visiting. I gave a tired smile. "No, just here to see a place that used to be mine." That night I sat by the window watching the cafe across the street. Inside, the lights were warm, laughter spilled out, music playing. Through the glass I saw Clara and Nathan standing side by side, sharing the kind of smile I once thought belonged only to me. And Mia, My daughter, was wiping tables looking at them with admiration in her eyes. I didn't cry. It just felt like someone had switched off the light inside my chest. I took out an old photo from my wallet, Mia, on my shoulders, holding up a paper airplane against a bright blue sky. I stared at it for a long time, then whispered, barely audible, "If silence is the only way you can hear me, then I'll stay silent one more time." But deep down I knew this silence wouldn't be like the others. It wasn't surrender anymore. It was the beginning of taking my voice back. The next morning I woke to a thin beam of sunlight slipping through the old curtain cutting across the half-open suitcase. The little room in Brooklyn was colder than I expected, but at least it was honest. No fake smiles, no one calling me the one to blame. I made a cup of instant coffee, sat down, and opened my laptop. Over 20 unread emails, most from the bank, a few from law firms, and at the very bottom one from Mia. I took a deep breath before opening it. "Dad, I don't know what you're doing, but everyone's in chaos. The cafe's been frozen, and Mom says you're trying to destroy us. Why are you doing this?" No greeting. No, "I miss you." Just cold, sharp words. I didn't blame her. She only knew the story someone else had told. She didn't know I built that cafe from the ground up, with my own years of labor. I typed a few lines, deleted them. There was no way to explain without making things worse. Finally, I wrote just 4 words. "I'll explain soon, Dad." I hit send, closed the laptop, put on my coat, and stepped outside. I needed proof, needed to know who was really behind all this. The cafe reopened faster than I thought. The new Milestone Cafe sign glowed with bright LED lights. I stood across the street watching people flow in and out. Clara wasn't there, but Nathan was talking on the phone, smiling like a man who owned the world. Every gesture, every raised brow screamed confidence and control. I followed him down the block until he entered a small office building. The sign out front read, "Miles Management." I waited for nearly an hour. When he finally left, I walked up and made small talk with the security guard. He didn't know me, so he spoke freely. "Mr. Miles." "Oh yeah, he just signed a deal for 2 more franchises in New Jersey. Got a big investor backing him. Some guy named Ethan Cole." "You know him?" I froze. "Ethan Cole? That's me." My name was being used as the principal investor in their legal filings. Now I understood. Not only had they taken everything from me, they'd used my name to make it legitimate. That night I reached out to an old friend, Marcus, an accountant I used to work with at the hangar. We met at a small bar near the docks. He frowned as I finished the story. "You still have the transfer records?" he asked. "Yeah. Copies of the contracts and the confirmation emails. Why, if they used your name on those franchise documents, that's fraud. You could sue them. At least make them sweat." I was quiet for a moment, then said softly, "I don't want revenge, Marcus. I just want them to face what they've hidden in front of my daughter." He nodded, understanding. We spent hours compiling everything: receipts, transfers, contracts, and one old voicemail from Clara, thanking me for funding the cafe years ago. Proof I never thought I'd need. 2 days later, the cafe held its grand opening for the new branch. I arrived early, sitting in the diner across the street with a clear view. It looked like a small festival: customers, local reporters, old friends of Clara's. Mia was there too, wearing a cream-colored coat, standing beside her mother and Nathan. Her smile looked forced. Through my phone's camera, I zoomed in. For a second, her eyes drifted through the crowd, and maybe they landed on me. Or maybe that was just my wishful thinking. I sent her a message with a single attachment: "Open this when you're ready." Inside was everything Marcus and I had prepared, the full truth. I left before the event ended. That night my phone wouldn't stop vibrating. 5 calls from Clara, 3 from unknown numbers, 1 from Mia. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I walked along the Hudson, the wind slicing at my face, sharp cold, reminding me I could still feel something. I stopped when a single text appeared. "Dad, we need to talk." 6 words, enough to make my heart tighten, not from hope but from fear. I replied, "Tomorrow 7 p.m. Denny's, the one where you used to love pancakes." Back at the room, I sat in front of the old mirror. The glass was cloudy, reflecting a stranger, a man who once believed silence could protect his family. Now he knew silence only lets others rewrite your story for you. Not this time. I closed the laptop, packed the documents, and looked at the small gift box still resting in the suitcase. The silver bracelet with the engraving Mia's flight glimmered under the weak yellow light. I smiled faintly. Tomorrow I'll see my daughter again, not to beg for love, but to show her who truly kept this family in the air for so long. That night, rain fell over New York. Not snow, but a cold, cutting rain that sliced through every streetlight reflection on the wet pavement. I arrived at Denny's 15 minutes early, chose a corner booth with my back to the door. The dim yellow light glowed against the steaming cup of coffee in front of me. I tried to keep my hands from shaking, even though my heart was pounding like I was about to walk into the most important meeting of my life. At 5 minutes to 7, the door opened. Mia stepped in her long coat soaked through. Behind her was Clara, my ex-wife, the one who once said we'll still be friends after this. Now I know. That promise dissolved like smoke, and trailing after them, Nathan Miles, dark suit, confident stride, briefcase in hand. The three of them moved toward me like it had all been rehearsed. Clara spoke first. "Ethan, thank you for meeting us. We need to talk." I looked at Mia. She didn't look away, but her eyes were cold. She wasn't the little girl who used to cling to my neck when thunder scared her. Now she was a woman who'd learned how to stand with the winning side. Nathan sat down, voice smooth and polite, almost insultingly so. "Mr. Cole, things are a bit tense right now. Your revoking access and sending those files to Mia has put Clara and the company in a difficult position. If there's been some misunderstanding, I think we can resolve this privately, not online." I smirked. A misunderstanding. "You used my name to open new branches, stole my investment funds, and call that a misunderstanding." His tone didn't waver. His eyes stayed flat, the look of a man who's practiced lying. "There's nothing personal here. We're just discussing business." I leaned forward, placed a thick folder on the table. "Then let's discuss evidence." Clara frowned. "Ethan, what are you doing?" I didn't answer, just slid the folder toward them. Inside was everything Marcus had helped me gather: contracts, recordings, original transfers. Black ink on white paper, undeniable. "This is your signature, Clara. And this," I tapped another page, "is the bank authorization showing you let Nathan collect funds under your company's name. So tell me, who's really destroying the family's?" Silence fell. Outside, the rain grew heavier, tapping against the windows. Mia looked down, lips pressed tight. Nathan's face went pale, though he tried to keep his composure. "You can say whatever you want," he muttered, "but exposing documents like this is illegal." I gave a tired smile. "Maybe. But you know what's more illegal? Using someone else's name as a shield for fraud." He shot to his feet, pretending not to be shaken. "I don't need to listen to this." "Clara, Mia, let's go." I kept my voice steady. "Before you leave, maybe you should know who sent those files to me." He stopped. "Sent them?" I nodded. The door opened again. A tall man in a dark overcoat stepped in, gray hair, calm eyes. "Marcus." He walked up to the table, set a sealed envelope in front of Nathan. "This is a copy of the report filed this morning with the New York Financial Crimes Bureau," Marcus said evenly. "They're reviewing your case for identity fraud." Nathan's face drained of color. Clara stumbled back a step. Mia stared at both of us, her voice trembling. "Dad? You called the police?" I shook my head. "No, sweetheart." Marcus filed the report. "The rest? The truth is just catching up." The air grew heavy, like it might crack under its own weight. Nathan jerked his arm away and stormed out, every eye in the diner following him. Clara bowed her head, tears spilling onto the tablecloth. I didn't feel happy. Didn't even feel relief. Just empty. Mia sat still, then finally whispered, voice shaking, "Dad, I didn't know. They told me you left. That you didn't want to talk to us." I looked at her, forcing my voice to stay steady. "I don't blame you. I just need you to know one thing: I never left you, Mia. They left me. And they left you too." Tears streamed down her face, blending with the raindrops against the glass. I took her hand, not tightly, just enough for her to feel it. To know that no matter how much had been lost, my love for her hadn't gone anywhere. When I stepped outside, the rain had stopped. The black sky had cracked open just enough to show a thin silver light between the clouds. Marcus clapped a hand on my shoulder. "You know they'll fight back, right?" I nodded. "I'm not here to win, Marcus. I just want the truth to be seen." As I walked down the street, I took a deep breath, the cold, damp air filling my lungs. For the first time in years, I felt lighter. Not because I'd gotten revenge, but because I'd finally reclaimed my voice. Tomorrow I don't know what's waiting. But tonight there's no room left in this city for lies. And somewhere inside me, I could almost hear it, the sound of an airplane taking off. The sound of a father learning to fly again, alone. The next morning I woke up to a silence so still it felt unreal. No honking cars, no rain. Just a soft ray of sunlight slipping through the curtain, falling across the table where last night's cold coffee still sat. I hadn't slept a minute, but for the first time in years, my mind felt light. For once I didn't feel chased by memories or trapped inside someone else's idea of what family should mean. My phone buzzed a message from Mia, "Dad. I'm at the airport. I want to see you before I fly to Boston to meet with the lawyers. Are you free?" I stared at the screen, feeling my chest tighten. I knew this meeting would be either a goodbye or the start of something new. I typed back, "Coffee, same place. 10 a.m. I'll be there." Denny's was quieter in the morning. The smell of pancakes and fresh coffee lingered in the air, and for a moment, I was back in those mornings when Mia and I used to sit together, her feet barely touching the floor. She walked in no makeup, her face pale, eyes red from lack of sleep. She sat down, fingers wrapped around a glass of water. I read everything she said softly. "Marcus sent me the original bank documents. Mom and Nathan, they're going to be investigated." I nodded. Not happy, not sad, just calm. "I know, but don't hate them, Mia. Hate never sets you free." She was quiet for a while, then whispered, "I only hate myself for believing them." I placed my hand on the table, not touching hers, just close enough. Trusting people isn't wrong, sweetheart. What's wrong is letting that trust make you forget who you are. Her eyes filled with tears. "Dad, all these years I thought you abandoned us. I hated you, blocked your number, deleted your messages. But you still sent money. You still cared. You just never said a word." I smiled, the same kind of smile I used to give that little girl who was afraid of thunder. "I thought if you were happy I didn't need to be understood. But maybe I was wrong. Silence can make people believe you've disappeared." She stood, walked around the booth, and wrapped her arms around me tightly, like trying to make up for every year we'd lost. And in that hug, I felt warmth again, a warmth I thought I'd never feel. "Dad," she whispered this Christmas, "I want to come back to Oregon. I want to decorate the tree with you." I nodded, my voice caught in my throat. "I still have that silver star you made out of paper when you were 8. It never went missing." Weeks later, the local papers ran the story, "Milestone Cafe owners under investigation for fraud and identity theft." I didn't finish reading it. For me, that story had ended long before the moment I chose a different kind of silence. Not to protect anyone else, but to protect myself. Back in Oregon, I reopened my old dream, Kohl's Clockworks, a small watch repair shop. Sounds silly maybe, but listening to the steady tick of gears gave me more peace than any business deal ever had. Every clock I touched reminded me time never stops. It just waits for us to be ready to begin again. One afternoon, the doorbell chimed. Mia walked in holding a cup of hot coffee. "I brought this for you, Dad. Your favorite. And a round-trip ticket. I'm staying in Oregon for the whole Christmas." I smiled. "Thank you, sweetheart. But this year you don't need to stay. You just need to be here." We sat together by the window. Outside, the first snow began to fall clean white, untouched by the past. A new beginning. I whispered almost to myself, "Maybe this Christmas really will be better." Not because someone's missing, but because finally we're here together. That night, the golden light from the shop reflected off 100 ticking clocks. The smell of pine and warm bread filled the air, and laughter, soft, real, unguarded, drifted through the room. I looked out at the winter sky stars shimmering like heartbeats and thought, sometimes you have to lose everything to see what truly matters. It's not the money, not the pride. It's this sitting quietly beside someone you love knowing you still have time to begin again. If this story touched you, hit like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss more real-life stories like this. Who knows? Maybe in the next one you'll see a part of yourself learning to forgive, to let go, and to start over, just like I did.